This is my mentor, Phil.
My family business is 76 years old. I just bought my dream house.
What would you say is like the hardest part of being a business owner?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Jumped as far as I could out, and it's 8.5 seconds of a free fall. I mean, it's the closest thing to just suicide you're gonna get. If you can do something that absolutely scares you to death, you can do anything in your business. We walk through fire, right? So that's a
Literally?
pretty amazing experience. Literally, yeah.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to a new episode of Free Game with Crack. Today I'm here with Phil LaMarch. How's it going?
Awesome, awesome. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And to give you guys some context, so my cousin Phil, this is his dad. We're here in Escanaba/Gladstone area in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I live in Lansing, Michigan, so it's like a 6-hour drive. And I met Phil for the first time a few months back at my other cousin, her open house. And so it was at his house, and the first thing I noticed was this is a nice house. Before going there, we had went to Phil Jr.'s house, and Phil Jr., they work together. Yeah, I noticed Phil Jr.'s got a nice house. Then we're at Phil Sr.'s house. Phil Sr. has a nice house. And yeah, I just started picking his brain, asking him business questions. And then that led to us doing weekly mentorship calls. This is my mentor, Phil. The goal is to give you guys some gems, some free game. I'm gonna ask him lots of questions. We're gonna talk about some interesting things and hopefully leave you guys inspired, motivated with some free game. Yeah.
Let's do it.
So when you introduce yourself, let's say you got in an Uber and they're like, hey, what do you do for a living? What do you say?
I'm in the business of creating people's dreams. So we create the American dream. We do manufactured and modular housing.
Okay.
We do it across the UP in northern Wisconsin. My family business is 76 years old.
Okay.
I'm a third generation. My son, Phil Jr., is a fourth generation. Having absolutely the time of our lives.
What exactly is a modular home? What does that mean?
They're factory-built homes. So what's nice, they're 80% finished when they get to your site. So they're either 1 or 2 pieces. Our homes are either on a cement slab, on a 4-foot crawl space, typical basement.
Okay.
What's nice is we keep it a certain price point, right?
Okay.
So if you're looking for a custom home, we're not going to be your guy, your company.
Okay.
Right? We're looking for the blue collar people. We've been reaching these people for 76 years here in the UP of Michigan.
Okay. So 4th generation. Mm-hmm. So when you were, say, like a teenager, 16, were you thinking, this is what I want to do, stay in the family business? Or were you thinking, the pressure of the family business, I want to do my own thing? Or how did you feel about that?
You know, honestly, what I saw from my dad, I never saw him.
Okay.
He was a business owner and he worked a lot. That's all I knew. And I was like, oh man, I want to be just like my dad.
Yeah.
Now, I started working in the company when I was 11.
Doing what?
My dad put me on the set crew. I was in the field helping setting these homes. You know, I was just 11 years old, and I came up in the summers to see him. My parents were divorced early on, and so of course, me, young kid, I want to come see my dad, hang out with my dad, and he'd be like, all right, you're here. He'd bring me to the crew with the other guys, you know, that were setting these houses, and I'd be gone till 9 o'clock at night.
Okay.
And then he'd pick me up, we'd have pizza, he'd bring me back, next day, same thing.
Okay.
Hated it.
Okay.
You know, I was 11 years old, right? I hated it. But what I realized is that that's what made me who I was. You know, I always drove to be something because I was like my dad, like that guy just works like an animal, you know? I didn't know that he was successful or not because I was just young, right? We didn't talk about it, right? Interesting, you know, my dad was an entrepreneur, business owner, and my stepdad and my mom, one worked for the government and the other one worked for the state. And both had good paying jobs and they had all the security and benefits and all that, right? And as you know, as a business entrepreneur, business owner, you don't have any of that, right?
Yeah.
You're out there in the big pool, swimming. Something that I love, right? I love the uncertainty of being a business owner. I love the creativity.
What would you say is like the hardest part of being a business owner? Because obviously you love the uncertainty, high risk, high reward. Were you ever into gambling?
I was young.
Okay.
And I was a horrible gambler. God, I lost every time.
Yeah.
Like I'm just a horrible gambler.
My dad taught me something. I remember the first time I went to the casino, it was like the Soaring Eagle Casino in Mount Pleasant.
Yeah.
And I came home and he said, what'd you think? I said, man, right when we pulled up, that place is nice. And he said, just remember who paid for it. He said, all the people that go there. And he was right. So gambling is fun. You can make a lot of money, but you can also lose a lot of money. And most of the time people lose.
I'm probably really lucky because I never had a big win.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I lost enough a little bit at a time, but I never got that big. You know, I never won. I think the most I've ever won is $500.
Okay.
You know, so
I
feel grateful. Oh, a few thousand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. We used to play card nights with the guys. I used to work at a car wash when I was 17, 18. And we'd play poker once a week, right? I just burned my check up.
Yeah.
You know. So now I try to stay away from the casinos.
Okay.
You know, not a big fan. I mean, I'm happy to go there. My mom was a big gambler. She loved to play the penny machines, but.
Yeah. So with business, the best part about being a business owner, and then also what would you say is like the worst part or the hardest part about being a business owner?
The best part is the opportunity to create something that you built.
Yeah.
You know, so as I mentioned, I took over a family business, but I took a family business. I took over a family business that was struggling, and there was two different visions. You know, they were just two. It was two owners, right? And they completely wanted different things. And when that happens, nothing good happens.
Yeah.
Right. So I've had the chance now to create that with my son, which is amazing, right? So I came to him and I said, "This is the vision. This is what I want to drive for." And he's like, "All right, I support it." Right?
Okay.
So that's probably been the greatest. What's the hardest? As much as I love people, sometimes it's the people.
Yeah.
You know.
It's relatable.
That's probably the best and the worst too, because I love people so much. If there's a downside for me, I love people so much that sometimes I hang on to them longer than what I should.
Yeah.
You know, if that's a fault of mine, that's one of my faults.
I have a random thing, but it has to do with that. Have you ever talked to a psychic or had a psychic reading done?
A long time ago, yes.
What happened and how did it go? Do you remember specifically?
I mean, I want to say that it said that I was destined for good things, big things, but and that just might be me with my positive mindset as well, because I've always had that.
Yeah. Well, yesterday in Mackinac, we were just wandering and I seen psychic readings and I thought, man, I've always been interested in that. So we went to one, and then how you were talking about head and mind, that's what she told me, basically, that with my brain I'm very logical thinking,
sure,
but with my heart I'm very passionate, and it seems like there's always a conflict between the two. And so with the people thing, it's like in my heart I care about them and I don't want to like fire people, but then in my head it's so logical that I'm like paying attention to the I guess behavior patterns not in alignment with like a great worker that's going to be here to stay, and those things like that. So, and
it's interesting, you know, like you said, we know it upstairs, right? But our heart says something different.
Yeah.
And that's a struggle. So what I can tell you, you know, fast forward now, Phil Jr.
Yeah.
Right. So he's much more of a logical thinker, right? He's not going to bring his heart into it, right? He treats this
almost at all.
Right.
Pretty
and
cold.
It's a personality, right? So as far as the personality profiles, right? So everybody in my company, I profile, right? So Phil is a high D personality, which more is that dominant.
Yeah.
No, you know, don't waste time with me, right? Give me the meat and potatoes, right? I'm more of the traditional salesperson, right? I've got more emotion. I really want to connect with you, right? So what I've realized, and I realized this not too long ago, he's a better person to hire and fire.
Yep.
Because he's only thinking about his brain, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, I made a connection with you.
Yeah.
This means something, right?
Yeah.
And it does, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
Right? So I've started to separate myself a little bit from the people on the day-to-day aspect. I mean, I still love them and they're with me every day. But as far as like the guidance, right? I'm not giving them guidance anymore. I'm more of like, this is the vision and this is where we're going to go.
Okay.
And this is what I need you to do, right?
Yeah.
And this is what I need you to do, right? And then I'm up here guiding, and that's where it ends for me now.
For even to get specific with that, because that's where I'm at right now as well. How do you structure that like every week? Is it like a weekly meeting, or maybe at the beginning of the week? That's where you
That's a struggle.
Okay.
Right? I struggle with that. You know, so I talk to Phil no less than 10, 12 times a day on the phone, right?
Okay.
We work together all day. So, I mean, we're pretty much joined at the hip.
And what is his position and what is your position?
So Phil's the vice president.
Okay.
And I'm the president.
Okay.
Yep. And then I've got Another key player in our organization is the operations manager, Susan.
Okay.
So she's part of, the three of us are part of the leadership team, right? So if there's something I want to implement,
Yeah.
right? Something real fresh, right? So we're going to implement video. And I was just with this gal that absolutely blew up her business last week. She's international now. She's speaking weekly.
Okay.
And so I reached out. She's a friend of mine, right? I said, hey, I want you to talk to Phil and Susan because I already know how great you are, but I need them to know how great you are so then they can implement it.
Yeah.
Because I'm not the one that's going to implement it, right?
Okay.
So that's a mind shift right there. Sometimes if I have an idea and I try to bring it to everybody, it doesn't work because I might be gone again.
Yeah.
And I'm not there every day to manage those people, right? So Phil's there and Susan's there.
Okay. I know that you're humble, but what are some career high moments or even life, like times where you looked around and you're like, I must be doing something right. Like the hard work is paying off. What are some of those moments?
Honestly, Nick, I'm sitting here right with you, right?
Okay.
We're doing a podcast. This is awesome.
Awesome. You just recently got a new house.
I got a new, yeah. I just bought my dream house.
And what's the story on that?
We can talk about that a little bit. Not to get too woo-woo, but I do believe in manifestation. And 10 years ago, I didn't have a whole lot going on. And I was with my wife. We lived in town, and we used to run the park. And there was this big, beautiful, modern house that was being built. And I'm like, oh my God, like this house is amazing. Like I can't even comprehend it, but I'm like, someday if I could ever live in a house like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
how many years ago was this?
10.
Okay.
And what's amazing is the house that I was just living in, we both thought of it as our forever home. And this house came up, and I said the same thing that I did the last house, and it's the term that I got from Tony Robbins, and it was burn your boats. So basically, you bring your boat, you bring it to the island, and you burn that boat because you're either going to win when you leave the island or you're going to die.
Yeah.
For me, like that's what it takes sometimes. Like I have to stretch myself to scary places.
Yeah.
So you get all that uncertainty.
Yeah, likewise.
Right? Because it's like you're in a fight and only one of you's coming out.
Yeah.
And it's like it's you.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah, so I've got this beautiful house on Lakeshore Drive here in Escanaba. I've got the water, I've got windows everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? 4 bedrooms, 4 baths. So I just ordered artificial turf to go up above the garage. It's got a flat 3-car garage. That's all flat. So it's just a big, huge deck.
Oh, okay. That's
yeah.
Awesome.
Yes. If you're around in the morning, you should come by, take a look. It's pretty sweet. Yeah.
Okay.
If you like the last one, you'll really love this one.
Okay.
So
sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet. That's how I feel about
Yes.
podcasting. It's like, hey, if you like the last episode, wait till you see the next one. Like
Yes.
It should only get better and better. What are some of your favorite places that you've traveled to? Because I know that you're a part of Tony Robbins' mastermind, correct?
Yeah. So I'm part of Tony Robbins' Platinum Partners.
And what is that?
That was a huge accomplishment for me as well. So I've been a big fan of Tony's my whole life. First
How would you
event,
describe Tony for somebody that is like, Tony who?
So huge inspiration, business coach, health coach, life coach.
Yeah.
He works and mentors the best in the world, right? So if he wants to know, he's going to find the best doctor in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to interview that doctor, take everything he can, and try to give it back to you.
Yeah.
I was just in Florida last week at a business event, right? He's one of the top business strategists in the world.
Okay.
Right? So again, he's working with the most powerful people in the world,
Yep.
right? Whether they're princes in Dubai, he's worked with all of the presidents, right? He makes a joke when, not a joke, he talks about when Bill Clinton called him the night before he was getting impeached. And he said, Tony, what am I going to do? And Tony said, you could have called me before the day before.
Yeah.
Right? Anyway, so some of my favorite places, New Zealand. New Zealand. We just went on an adventure trip 2 months ago. About 250 people from all over the world. And we just, probably the highlight, there were so many things, but bungee jumping from 550 feet in the air.
Had you done something like that
I've never
before?
done something like that.
Okay.
No.
What I guess led to you doing something like that? Like I've never bungee jumped. I've never jumped out of a plane. I've never done a lot of
So this trip in general is all about getting you completely out of your comfort zone.
Okay, that makes sense.
The whole trip is uncertain. You have no idea what you're doing the whole time. Right? There's no agenda, there's nothing. Right? Like, this is what you wear, this is when you show up, and then that's what you do, right? And they do that because they totally want to mess with your brain.
Yeah.
Right? So I also have a phrase, you didn't come this far to only come this far, right? I didn't fly all the way across the world to not bungee jump.
Yeah.
Right?
How'd you feel beforehand?
Oh, scared to death.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was the last day, and we'd already done tons of cool stuff, and I had other people that already bungee jumped, so I saw their videos and stuff, you know, and some people were scared to death, and some people were like, yeah.
Yeah.
And so we get there, and they've got this swing. So we started off with the swing, and I had done a swing in Africa the year before, right? So there's me and another gal. We're up on this swing. It's 350 feet in the air. There's in between two mountains, right? The valley, and they launch you out, so you're completely up in the air, and then you're talking, to all of them. Snap, the swing just drops, right? So you just free fall 300 some feet. I was like, that's a lot. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, your stomach's in your throat, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, and they're slowly coming up, and I'm like, how amazing is this? I mean, here we are in this beautiful place. I mean, you got mountains, you got the freshest air you could ever breathe. And then they had this catapult. They shoot you out like a gun, 100 miles an hour. Same thing, you're basically like this. They stick you out in midair, and then they just click the gun, right? You just go, pew. So I did that, and I'm like, sweet, I did everything I need to do. I don't need to bungee jump. You know, I said I was going to do it all week because we knew we were doing it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't have to do it. And then I'm looking and I'm watching videos of these other people, right? And I'm like, man, if I come all the way here, what am I going to do? I'm going to come home and tell people that I didn't do it?
Yeah.
Right? You know?
I went to this crazy place and everyone else was
Right.
bungee jumping.
Right.
Like, did you? No.
No. So they bring you on a gondola, right? Because this
And what
little
is that?
like a little cart that's up in the air, right?
Okay.
Probably fits like 5 people in it.
Okay.
Think about like those power pole guys, linemen,
Yeah.
right? They have buckets, right?
Yeah.
So think of it like a bucket,
Okay.
right? So you get into an enclosed bucket capsule, and they shuttle you out in the middle of this valley, and then they have this, let's call it like a house or something, right? And you can see there's glass, the floor is glass, so you can see people going down, right? So I get in, there's about 4 of us in there, and and I see my buddy up there, and he's ready to jump, and it's just a little platform like this, and they don't push you, you have to jump.
Okay.
Right? And you got to go head first,
Oh, okay.
right? Your ankles are locked, you know, you got your locks, and that's it, right?
Yeah.
And he gets up there, and I'm in state, you know, I'm ready, and I'm scared to death, right? Because there's no turning back now.
Yeah.
And I can see him, and it took him about 4 minutes, and he was scared to death, and it was going back and forth, and I'd get in state, and then I'd root him on, and then I'd look away, because I'd be, you know, like, I can't look at you anymore. And he finally jumps, you know, and he came up, and he was scared to death, and I'm like, you know what, as soon as I hit this chair, and they put these anklets on me, I'm gonna be on video.
Yeah.
And I can't go on video looking like I'm scared.
Okay.
Right? So I said to the guy, I said, turn Motley Crue, kickstart your heart on, right? I got in complete state, and state in a place where you feel like you can do anything.
Yeah.
Right? So if you've ever been into a fight, right, you're in state. You know,
Yeah.
it's just like,
high adrenaline.
right?
Yeah.
So I got in there, and I got up on the platform, and he's like, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I jumped as far as I could out, and it's 8.5 seconds of a free fall, right? I mean, it's the closest thing to just suicide you're gonna get, right?
Yeah, I was thinking 8 seconds seems like.
It's a long time. And I'm like, oh, and then immediately it was like the best feeling in my entire life. And the reason we do this stuff, it's intentional, right? If you can do something that absolutely scares you to death, you can do anything in your business. Because nothing's scarier than that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? I mean, whether it's firing somebody, hiring somebody, growing your business, right? Like,
Yeah.
you basically just tried to commit suicide.
Yeah, I was like, that's actual almost life or death versus
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
technically life or death
Yeah.
situation.
And it's all about, it's one decision. That's all. You know, your whole life is one decision. And you're on that platform and you make that decision, right? Are you going to jump right now? Or are you going to think about it for 3-4 minutes and get scared to death? Just jump.
Do you have the video?
Yeah.
Can you please send it to me so
absolutely,
I can include it for that part of the podcast?
Yes, absolutely I will, man.
Okay.
I'll send you the, I got the swing, I got the catapult, and I've got the bungee.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. 2-part question. The person you are today is the version of you today, the highest earning Phil. All right. So
well, not yet, but yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
So far.
Yeah, for sure.
This is the best version of you.
Yeah.
What's a dollar amount that you've invested into yourself as far as coaching, mentorship, experiences like that? And for how many years have you been doing that? And what led
6
to
years.
you having that light bulb moment of, man, I should start invested in these type of things?
Sure. Okay. Well, so, you know, I got in with Tony in '95 because my parents did all the events.
They would go to them?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. They did everything in the '90s. And even growing up, like even, you know, in 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, whatever, we had sales tapes, negotiating tapes. That's all my dad would listen to. You know, Brian Tracy's and the Zig Ziglars and the Tony Robbins. And
but you being that age and your parents kind of pushing it on you, or
they did. I didn't love it. I didn't love it.
Okay, because I was saying, did that make you resent it?
Yeah.
Versus like accept it?
I didn't love it, you know, because we'd be in the vehicle and, you know, it was either country music, which I used to hate, or sales tapes, negotiating tapes, right?
Because my daughter's 12, and so I also want to sprinkle some of this on her, but at the same time not like force it and make it.
I think you can sprinkle it, right? Yep. But you know, when I did the event when I was 18, we walked through fire, right? So that's a
literally?
pretty amazing experience. Literally, yeah. Hot coals.
And describe
and
that.
I've done that 8 or 9 times now. So again, now there's about, you know, the events are a lot bigger, but let's say you got 40, 50 lanes of hot coals, right? So a lane is probably about 4 feet.
Okay.
Right, by 16 feet long.
16 feet long.
Right.
Okay.
So,
and you can see smoke coming up.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's red hot. Yeah. So you basically start here. They tell you, you know, get in state, right? The word that
Up
you
here.
keep saying, yep, you got to get in state. Like, you have to know this is going to happen, right? So you're pumped up and you're with, let's say, 8,000 people, right? And everybody's hooting, hollering.
Yeah.
You get in state and you say, cool moss, cool moss, cool moss, cool moss, cool moss. Done. You walked it, right?
Oh, okay.
But as you're walking it, right, it's just steady, right? Cool moss, cool moss, cool moss. Because you don't want to think about how hot it is.
Okay.
Right? As soon as you get done, they hose your feet down, right? Because a lot of people, they'll have coals in between their toes and stuff, right? There's people that get burned.
Okay.
For sure. But again, another one of those things, like if you can walk through fire, right, you can grow your business.
Yeah.
Right? You know? That's pretty amazing. So 2018, I got back into that world, and I got back in because my son wanted to go. And to be honest with you, I was a little hesitant. I was like, I'm just not feeling it, whatever. And I'm like, I'm gonna go because you want to go, right?
Yeah.
And as soon as I went, I'm like, game on. You know, I gotta have more of this in my life because it's just super high energy, driven, hardworking people that want to share, right? So like what we're doing right now, I do on a monthly basis with tons of people from all over the world that just want to give, right? It's almost like a fight, like how much can I give you?
Yeah.
You know? And for me, it's an addiction. You know, it's just, I need more of that. Now, what have I put in? 350,000?
Yeah.
Probably.
And what would you say to someone that hears that number and they're thinking, dang, I would never spend money like that. I would rather buy a car or buy a house. What would you say to them?
Yeah. I think everybody's to each their own, right?
Yeah.
You know, for me, and you don't have to spend that much, okay, right? So I'm in a group of, you know, probably 1%.
Yep.
Right? I mean, it's business owners, it's people that are traveling all together. You don't have to, right? You can get a lot of the stuff on YouTube. You don't have to pay all that money.
Would you say there's a power in being in the room, though?
100%. 100%
Yeah.
there is. Yep. You're with 8,000, 10,000 people, and everybody's just jamming together,
Yeah.
it's huge. And there's a lot of different people. Okay, that's just one guy. That's one guy that I'm close to, but there's a lot of people out there that are really great, trying to help you grow your business.
Yeah. How important would you say like environment plays on somebody's future? Because obviously being around people like that, it's a great environment, you know,
It's huge.
but for people that maybe are on the complete opposite, like, you know, people that are very, I guess, poor mentally, where they live, they don't know anyone around them that's really doing anything. And
I would say get around somebody, right? You know, you don't have to have a lot of money. You know, 6 years ago when I told you, right, I was a salesperson in our company. I was doing well, right? Better than I've ever done, but I wasn't anywhere where I am now. You know, I went from 7 years ago, I guess now, from a salesperson of a company of 3 to a company of 11 as a business owner. On top of, we're in the real estate space as well, so we've got about 130 rentals as well, and we've done that over the last 18 months.
wow.
So it's just about mindset, right? Like, what do you want to put your mind to? What do you believe? What can you do to get something done?
Where was your lowest point mentally with mindset? Because it seems
sure.
like when you're in that position, it's impossible to get the hell out of it.
Yeah, so I can tell you my lowest. I was in the hospital with congestive heart failure.
How many years ago was this?
18 years ago.
Okay.
And I remember sitting in the hospital with the doctor, and I had 5% of my heart left. I was 28 years old. And he said, this is as good as it's going to get, you know, and I'm like, no, it's not. You know, I said, I'll be back to normal. And he looks at me and says, no, you won't. You know, and I'll tell you, sitting here right now, I'm better than I've ever been. I'm on no drugs of any sort. I see a cardiologist every 2 years. And again, it's mindset. And it was in that hospital room that I realized that I was so certain that I was not going to be this way forever.
Yeah, how did you have that certainty though?
Because I knew what I'd been through before. I used the tools. So back when I was 18, you know, we talked a lot about pain and pleasure and how to make a change, right? How to anchor a change in.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, after I went to that first event, I came back and I quit smoking cigarettes.
And how long had you been smoking cigarettes?
Well, so I was 18, so 3 years at that time.
3 years.
My first time.
How much were you smoking?
Pack a day.
Okay.
Yep. I quit smoking cigarettes. I quit biting my fingernails.
Why did you quit smoking cigarettes?
Because I wanted to be in better shape and I wanted to start riding my mountain bike.
Okay.
And I realized that if I smoked and rode my bike, I wouldn't be in that good a shape. But then I also realized people that quit smoking typically gain weight. And I'm like, I'm not gonna gain weight. I'm gonna lose weight. So I quit smoking, I quit biting my nails, and I lost 70 pounds.
What was your heaviest weight?
230.
Oh, okay.
And it was, you know, it was simple. So I looked at, okay, so the pain would be not be in good shape.
Yeah.
Right? The pleasure would be all the joy I would get once I looked better.
Yeah.
Or my nails felt better.
Yeah.
All the money I would save from not smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
Right? How I could extend my life. So I started stacking all of the good things that would happen, right? And then the bad things weren't as many, right? So let's say if there's 3 pain points
Yep.
and 10 pleasure points.
Yeah.
Right? Focus on the pleasure, change your habit. Right? So I had a habit of smoking cigarettes. So instead I got rid of that habit and I started riding my mountain bike.
Yeah.
My mountain bike now, you want a cigarette? Jump on your mountain bike. You want a cigarette? Jump on your mountain bike.
Oh, you like habit swapped.
Absolutely.
Negative for positive. That's
and then it was
awesome.
good, right? So
Yeah.
like the smoking, obviously negative, right? The mountain biking was healthy. So I'm like, let's do more of that.
And that was how long ago?
That's when I was 18.
Dang.
So I took that certainty in the pain and pleasure when I had my heart issue, because I'm like, all right, I was effed up. right? Like I beat myself to a point where it was dark. I was homeless.
Yeah.
Right. I remember my dad.
And like homeless, like
homeless, like not a place to live, right? So I was a drug addict.
And how long? Like, I'm just trying to be in the position of being homeless. I'm tired, and I know I don't have anywhere to go.
14 years. I was a drug addict. I used drugs for 14 years.
Okay.
I wasn't homeless for 14 years, right?
But you'd say the drugs made a major
Yep.
impact leading to homeless.
Yep. The drugs took my heart out. Pretty much took most everybody out of my life. And I always knew, so I moved out to Colorado. Talk about like certainty and big plans and stuff,
Yeah.
right? So I graduated college, and eventually I got out to Colorado. Always had a drug problem a little bit, and I moved out to Colorado, and I got introduced to crystal meth, and that was fine. I just dabbled, and then I was at work one day. I was an assistant manager for Sherwin-Williams Paint Company.
Yeah.
And in a little town in Colorado, I had my wife and my 2 kids, and didn't make a whole lot of money,
Didn't?
Didn't.
Okay.
I think at the time as an assistant manager, I was making $36,000 a year, living in a town where you couldn't buy a house for less than $300,000. Anyway, so I was doing my job one day, and all of a sudden the manager came up and punched me right in the head. I did something wrong on the till, like a correction or something, and I was scared to death. Didn't do anything for a couple days. He was like the store manager of the year. He was like, we had the best numbers, financial numbers, out of 650 stores throughout the whole Southwest. And I remember calling the district manager one day to ask her just a hypothetical question. What would happen if somebody punched somebody?
Yeah.
And she said, oh gosh, I don't know. I'd have to put you in with the district manager. I said, no, don't worry about it. Anyway, long story short, that manager got fired, and I was running the store.
Okay.
And the district manager came in, and he's like, Phil, you're doing great. We're going to get somebody to take over his spot. We're getting ready to put you to this $400,000 store.
Okay.
And I'm like, Rob, I'm not moving my family. I'm going to have the store. He's like, dude, you're doing a great job. You're killing it. This is a $2 million store. This is not how it happens. And I'm like, yeah, this is how it's going to happen, right? So from that point on, I did a lot of drugs, and I worked 24 hours a day. And I was certain that I was going to get that job.
Yeah.
And it was probably 6 months. They interviewed people all over the country for this job. They didn't find anybody they liked. Finally, I got a chance, and I got the job.
Okay.
And I was like, man, I'm on top of the world. Like, I'm running this $2 million company. We got the best financials of anybody. Life is great.
Yeah.
And I went to Nashville, Tennessee for a national convention. And I decided that would be a good time for me to get clean, because I knew I wasn't in a good place, right? And long story short, I failed miserably. I fell asleep. Basically, I quit when I came back. They asked me to go back to as assistant manager, and I told them, hell no. I stayed there in Colorado for a few more years, and I just sold drugs wide open.
Yeah.
And partied, and almost died, with my heart. Came back home, ended up working back in the family business, building houses right at the bottom. I started out at $10 an hour, built houses for 6 years, and then I got a chance to sell houses. As soon as I finally got in, I said, I'll never go back again.
Yeah.
I'll never build houses again. And here I am now.
Earlier when you said you can sprinkle it in with kids, because how many kids do you have?
3.
3. And what's the youngest?
18.
18. And then the oldest would be?
29.
20. Okay. What advice would you give to me? My daughter's 12. She's a good kid. I'm obsessed with like self-improvement, personal development, and I'm good at coaching and like a leader with the business and stuff. So I have a hard time not, I guess, pointing out certain things. Almost like if you see your kid and they're on their phone too much, and then I want to address that. Or if I see her posture down and I want to.
She may not listen to you as much because you're her dad.
Yeah.
Put her around somebody that she may look up to. I mean, she already looks up to you, right?
Yeah.
That's without question. But sometimes because you're so close, they may not see that.
Yeah.
Now, like my youngest one, and she's too young yet, but I'm sure there's some other groups, but my youngest one, went out to San Diego for this youth summit, again through Tony Robbins, a younger group.
And she naturally was drawn to that, or?
No, through me.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So weird. It's weird. Like I don't know. You know, kids are weird, right? So like my oldest one is driven to self-improvement.
Okay.
My middle child probably thinks I'm a little woo-woo.
Okay.
You know, so she does nothing to do with it, which is great.
Okay.
And then the youngest one is like, hey, I think part of it was her mom and I are kind of like, I said to her mom, I said, hey, I really want her to do this. Like, she needs this, right? She's kind of quiet, she's kind of shy.
Yeah,
right?
My daughter's shy.
And my ex-wife is like, you know what, you love this so much, I'll support it, right? So she kind of probably gave Zoe a little push as well. And so she did it. She did the first year virtually. She did the second year virtually. And then the third year was, because this is all during COVID. Yeah. The third year, she was in charge of 37 kids.
Damn.
At the age of 17, right? And basically, and it brought her to such a different place. You know, it matured her, it kind of opened her up a little bit. She's made some friends from all over the world. We were trying to get her to the UK this year, but she's gonna go to the UK next year because she's got some good friends out there. Yeah. And then, you know, I brought her to an event this past year with a couple friends of mine that are business owners that are in the same business that Zoe wants to be in. Mm-hmm. And I flew her out to California this year to shadow them for a week. Yeah. Right? So kind of like you talked about, like, this is all about mentorship. Yeah. Right? And if you can find a mentor, and you can do some shortcuts. Yeah. Right? Like, do it. Yeah. Right? And with her, you know, I'll bring her or do anything I can to help her. Mm-hmm. Right? But as long as she wants it. I'm not going to force it down her throat. Yeah. Right? What's some of the best parenting advice you could give me? Be present. You know, as I was growing, I was never home. You know, I worked because I was just trying to pay the bills and be this person that I thought I could be. And I lost a lot of good years. I didn't with Zoe. So when Zoe came around, I moved back here. I was sober. Mm-hmm. And we have a really good bond. Yeah. But when the other two kids were born, like I had my son when I was 18. You know, I wasn't thinking about having kids at 18. Yeah. I was partying, I was working, you know, I was going to college. Yeah. Right. So I missed a lot of those good years. So I would say just be present when you are with your kids, with your daughter. Yeah. Right. If it's an hour or if it's 10 minutes, just be present. How many years have you been married? 12 years. Okay. Yeah. Now, what's the best marriage advice you could give to me? Oh man, yes. Well, again, you know, not to beat the same horse, but to be present, but just to be open and communicate, right? Like my wife is my best friend. Uh-huh. Absolutely my best friend. We've been through hell. I mean, it's really good right now. It hasn't always been great. Yeah. You know? We've grown, but the one thing I've told her ever since we were married is like, this is it for me. Like, there's not an option 2, right? Like, I didn't think I'd ever get married again. I did. Mm-hmm. Like, it's you and me, babe. Just be transparent, communicate. Is she also into the same self-improvement, Tony Robbins, that type of stuff, or not? She's done a few events with me. Okay. I was going to ask, has she ever went to events like that, or would you recommend couples go to them together? Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yes, for sure. So she's been to 4 events with me. We did a relationship trip together, which was amazing. She's not as much into the space as I am. Uh-huh. But she's, on her categories, certainty is much higher. You know, where her most important trait would be certainty. Okay. Where mine would be uncertainty. Oh, okay. So it's a little mix, right? You know, so she works for the government, has a great steady job, right? And does a phenomenal job. And then I'm a business owner, right? So I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Yeah. Right? And I think that's a great mix for us too, right? It's like the yin and the yang. Yeah. See, I thought of that when you're saying sometimes, like with your kids, they have to hear it from somebody else. That reminded me of my wife, because a lot of times I'll, like, straight from the horse's mouth, or whatever they say. Uh-huh.
I'll have a talk with her about something. It's kind of like in one ear out the other, and then she may share like a TikTok video with me 3 weeks later. It's like, I told you that. I actually explained it better, and she was like, well, it didn't make sense when you said it, but when this person did.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Same thing.
Yep.
I would almost say if you plant a seed with someone, and you could do this with anybody, even your employees, get them to think it's their idea, you're set.
Okay.
Who cares if it's your idea?
Yeah.
Right? If they think it's theirs, let them go with it, right? You tell your wife something, she comes back and she says, hey, this is what I think we should do. Just smile and just nod.
Okay. I seen it was maybe on Facebook or something, but there's a thing where the woman doesn't know what she wants for dinner or what she wants to eat. If you ask what he wants, she's like, I don't know, right? And so it was the husband doing that though. He was like, hey, I'm gonna take you to that place that you've been talking about. You get one guess. And then she'll say, oh, is it this? And he's like, yep, that's it. You got it right. So yeah, it was
yes.
a little manipulating.
Yes.
Reading. Would you consider yourself a reader?
No.
No?
No.
That's interesting.
Full transparency, I do a lot of audiobooks.
Okay.
Right? I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I've read, right? I'm just, it's hard for me to comprehend it.
Okay.
And but to get into a vehicle, and I'm in the truck a lot, right? I'll put a podcast in. I'll listen to an audiobook. I feel good about that.
Yeah.
I just like to sit and read a book, which I know isn't great. And a lot of really smart people, all they do is read.
Yeah.
I just have never been a really great. My comprehension level's not high.
Okay. What are some of your favorite books that you have read?
So I was just listening to one from Dan Martell that we just got last week.
Oh yeah. Does it Buy Back Your Time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Keith Ferrazzi, I really like him.
Okay.
He's got several books. Never Eat Alone is phenomenal.
Never Eat Alone? Okay.
Phenomenal. Yep.
What would you say the gist of that book is?
It's all about networking.
Okay.
And of course I love networking, right? So he kind of talks about his story and how he can, and his connection of people, and how he can remember people. He brings other people together. He'll bring groups together.
Yeah. Right?
Kind of like masterminds, right? He doesn't refer to them as masterminds, but that's what they are.
Okay.
And I find myself doing that now. Like, I love to get people together and then just kind of see what happens.
Yeah.
But yes, Never Eat Alone is a great book.
How important is like the new world of social media, content creation? How important would you say of a role that plays in growing your business and your brand, your business brand, your personal brand today?
It's huge. It's absolutely huge.
Yeah.
I think it's vital for any company. Mm-hmm. Especially, it's the cheapest version of advertising.
Yeah.
Right? I don't do any radio, I don't do any TV, not that there's anything wrong with it. People that do it, great, all the more power to you. For $2 a day, I can reach 10, 20,000 people, right? They get my message. So for me, that's the best bang for my buck. But word of mouth and referrals are far the best.
Yeah.
So you get together with somebody and you sell them a service, you sell them a product, like ask about their friends, family, right? Ask for a review, right? Because for me, if I look at a restaurant, right, I go out of town, right? Like first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go on the reviews to see what's rated the best, right? TripAdvisor.
Yeah.
Right? I go on TripAdvisor, and if you're 50 on the list, like I'm probably not going there.
Yeah.
Unless maybe you say, hey, this place is amazing, you got to go eat it. Right? I'm probably not going to.
I feel like majority of people, they're going to search food, and then whatever the highest rated place is going to show up first, and you're probably going to pick between the first or maybe the top 10.
Yep.
They said somewhere, it was like, want to know how to hide a dead body? Put it on page 2 of Google.
Yeah, no one's going to find it.
Yeah, no one's going to find it. Okay.
So we do a lot with Facebook. We do a lot of videos. I've got a gal that does all of our social media.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's important for sure.
Is it cool running into people in person and then they bring up like seeing you all the time, but they're
Oh my
talking
God,
about the content.
It was pretty weird. I remember I don't know, 6-8 months ago, because this video thing is 2 years old for me.
Okay.
So I remember we were in a different mastermind, my son and I, right, in a real estate mastermind. And there was a guy there that used to work for Grant Cardone.
Okay.
He was Grant Cardone's guy. He got Grant from here to here. You know? And I'm like, oh man, I want to be with you. Right? Because if you work with Grant, right, I'm just a small little pie, right? And so we started doing videos, and I'm like, dude, I don't want to see myself in video. He's like, no, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be fine. I'm like, no, I don't like it. Anyway, we did it. It was good. And I'm in Subway one day having a sandwich, and the gal's like, are you Phil from Phil and Lee's? I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh my God, like you're a movie star.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I'm in a small little town, but anyway, it was cool.
Yeah.
Right. And now I hear that a lot. Like, oh, I see your videos all the time, and now I've got this group of friends from all over the world, and of course we're friends on Facebook, so they're like, hey, I see your video.
Yeah.
Now they're not looking to buy anything from me.
Yeah.
But it's just cool, right? Yes. Yes. Like, oh, I saw your stuff. I really like it. It's getting a lot better, kind of thing. Because as you know, like the more you do, the better it is. So.
What I love the most about it is when I meet someone for the first time, but they've been following me on social media for some time, and they feel like they've known me forever. But I realize it's because they've spent a lot of time with me. So whether it's watching like a 60-second video, they spent a minute with me. But then if they've watched, 200 of those, that's 200 minutes they've spent with me. Or if they go to YouTube and they watch a 10-minute video, or what I love about podcasts would be the bottom of the funnel. So it's like the warmest of the warmest, because those are the people that are committed to spend an hour with you in a conversation versus like 30 seconds on a Facebook reel or something. So I'm like pro podcast. I believe everyone should have a podcast. I think it's the easiest way to create content, because you're just having a conversation that like I would have had this conversation with you inside on the couch off camera, but then instead it's like, let's film it, and then now this can be content that other people from all over the world can listen. Which is awesome. And I'm super grateful. And I'm also, I love podcasts. Yeah. Right. To me, it's that net time. It's no extra time, right? You're in the truck, you're in the grocery store, you put your earbuds in, right? You're taking a walk with your dog. Like, you can get that good stuff all the time. So. Oh yeah. What would be some last words of advice that you would give for me specifically, since we've been talking the last few months? Get a plan, stay focused, and kill it. You've got so much talent, and you're doing great things. And even if we can hone you in to say 3-4 things, right? Because you're right here, ready to go right here. Yeah. Right. So I'm super excited to be part of the journey with you, right? Just kind of see what you got going on, and I always enjoy our meetings, right? I know I've been a little distant because I've been out of town, but I'm back now, at least for another 6 weeks or so. So we can catch up and see what's going on, see how I can help. Yeah, I have a lot of cool updates for next month. Stuff that's gonna happen. So this is great, man. All right, everyone, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm gonna put a link in the description to all of Phil's social media. If you guys are watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, please give me a 5-star review. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you.